trying to finish here. Shanahan, if Purdy doesn't work out, that's a Shanahan problem. That's on Shanahan. Again, we're in year 7. I would hope this is his guy. I would hope this guy can ride into the sunset with Brock. I would hope that the Niners are finally, because quite frankly, I'm tired of talking about it. You give it an honest assessment on Trey Lance, and it's you're a hater, you're this, you're that. I've been called Uncle Tom this week because I gave an assessment on Trey Lance, and I've been the biggest Trey Lance fan this entire time.
But can't we agree that, like, the way we talk, like, and we're talking about sports culture earlier this hour, like, the absolutes, are, to me, is, like, so unfair. Like, you either win the Super Bowl or everything is deemed a failure. Really? Like, either Brock Purdy's a top 5 quarterback or we're having issues and we're getting Kirk Cousins. Dude, he could be like the 12th best quarterback next year. They could have a monster season, and the ball just doesn't bounce their way for whatever reason in a playoff game, and they lose a shootout or something. Like, there's so many ways that this could be an unbelievably fun and exciting year, and not win the Super Bowl, and still be like no indictment on anyone. So that I just think that we do these things like complete failure. The only success is the Super Bowl. Well, dude, you know how many freeway exits there are in between those two scenarios?
But you know what? For this team and this core, the only success is the Super Bowl. For George Kittle, for Fred Warner, for Trent Williams, for Christian McCaffrey, for Deebo Samuel, for Brandon Ayuk, and the list goes on and on and on. The only success for this team this year is winning a Super Bowl. Now, you could create great memories and great moments. Like last year in the Miami game, it was awesome. It was awesome to see that. L.A., Christian McCaffrey scored 3 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing, 1 passing. That was great. But the only success for this team, because this is what they're saying, not us. The only success is winning that Super Bowl.
Well, okay,
that's
so
the position.
2019 Warriors.
That's the position we're in.
No, I know. 2019 Warriors are a great example, and I don't wish injuries on anyone. But given everything we saw and what happened at the end of the year, that year was a failure because they didn't win at all.
To the Warriors, yes.
I mean,
the injuries happened and it sucked.
I thought they pushed it as far as they could possibly push it.
They pushed it because of the injuries, but in a lot of people's minds, it's like, damn it, they could have had a 3-peat. Well, but at the same time, think about what you're saying. They just came off with 2 championships.
I know, and
so they got the monkey off their back.
I know, but
they get a little more of a pass
for sure
for losing that 2019 NBA Finals. This 49ers team hasn't won a Super Bowl since the mid-'90s.
Yeah, I know, but if the same, I'm just hypothetically, a similar scenario played out where, Warner goes down and this guy goes down and they got all the way to the NFC Championship game and they lost. Or they got all the way to the Super Bowl and, both their tackles are out and, they're running for their life like Mahomes was the year that he lost to Brady. Like, there's so much nuance, and that's why to say that it's Super Bowl or bust, I get why people say that, and I understand the sentiment. What I'm saying is that's not my setting.
Well, that's not your setting, but that's the player setting.
You're
that's
right.
Eric
You're
Armstead's
probably
setting.
right.
That's Kyle Shanahan's setting. That's John Lynch's setting. That's Christian McCaffrey's setting.
But just say
that's
this
Deebo's
out loud.
Setting.
Winning the Super Bowl with a second-year quarterback who's only got the 9 games under his belt, like, that would be pretty unbelievable.
But we've seen quarterbacks in their early Brady was
Joe Burrow
second
took
year.
A team to the Super Bowl in his second year.
Tom Brady was in his second year.
Yeah,
Joe Montana was in his third.
Technically in his second year of starting.
Mahomes was in his second year of starting when he won a Super Bowl.
I guess Joe Montana was in his full first season, but it was his second season of starting.
Yeah, exactly.
But those we're also talking about.
John Elway was going to Super Bowls young and early in his tenure. Dan Marino went to a Super Bowl in his second season. You
what's
know
the commonality between almost all those guys?
Well, they're elite.
Almost every one of them is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Maybe Purdy becomes that.
So what I would say is, like, there's only 27 of those.
We don't know that. But we don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know how Purdy's career. But the setting for these players, you're saying, why does it have to be all or nothing? Because the setting for this core, as it's coming to an end, what did it have? Maybe this year, maybe next year together? The setting for this core is Super Bowl. They've got the 3 NFC championship games. They've lost 2 of them.
I know.
They've gone to a Super Bowl. They lost in dramatic fashion. The setting for Kittle, Warner, Greenlaw, and the rest of this bunch is Super Bowl.
See, I would say to you that, like, for the players, totally makes sense. From the fans and the media, I think there's only one team in the NFL that's Super Bowl or a lost season, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, well, my setting is Super Bowl, too.
No, I get that.
As a fan. And I think there's a lot of fans who think we got to go win a Lombardi. We're tired of coming up short.
We all agree there. Everyone who doesn't agree with that.
Because think about our offseason, this past offseason when it came to 49 football. Did we ever mention CMC scored 3 touchdowns against the Rams at SoFi Stadium?
No, the throw was so sick.
Did we ever mention the Miami game when Brock Purdy came in to relieve?
Well, we will if it's
Jimmy
part
Garoppolo?
of this highlight Hall of Fame, and he's the 29th or 28th Hall of Fame
Did we
quarterback.
harp on them blowing out Tom Brady and the Bucks?
But we still talk about that New Orleans game with Jimmy G, even though they didn't win the Super Bowl that year.
We do, but we don't.
I mean, that lives in
barely. But we talk about George Kittle's play. We don't even talk about Jimmy's performance.
We still talk about the block from Jordan Willis against the Green Bay Packers.
We
even though
do
they
at times.
You know, we still talk about Kaepernick 10 years later.
Not as much as we talk about the loss to SoFi Stadium.
I mean, like the catch, T.O., part 2, right? We still talk about it. They lost the very next week.
Right, no doubt. They did. Did we expect that team to go to the Super Bowl, though?
Well, I think they were in because of who Steve Young was and Jerry Rice, and because of all of the uncertainty on both sides of the Green Bay Packers. And I think it was Super Bowl or bust for that version of that team because of who they had as an established player who already had a championship under his belt.
Xavier, y'all still talking about my uncle? Who's your uncle, Xavier? Who's your uncle? Let me know who your uncle is. The window's closing, though. That's why the setting for this team. And it's when you have 8 players in the top 100.
I know.
How could it not be? How could the setting not be? And let's not be afraid. Why are we so afraid of saying Super Bowl or bust? Why are you afraid of that? I like that setting. I want my teams, whether it's the Warriors, the Giants, or the Niners, it's title or bust. That's the world I live in. I love that.
Well,
we're in the competition. We're in the contention for big stakes. That means we're playing in big games. That's what we're playing on national television. I love that setting.
No, of course you love that setting. But then I also think about like when you have that feeling, I think about 2012, walking down Mission Street, January 2013, sad as hell. Because we lost the Super Bowl to the Ravens. I think about 2019, sad as hell coming out and doing this show with you. Like, that's why. And so, I don't know.
I'm not afraid of it. You got to embrace it, man. And by the way, we got to break. What's coming up in the game sponsored by 7-Eleven. We're giving out tickets to LL Cool J and Chase and 50 Cent. That's coming up on the other side. Your phone call's coming up next as well. 888-957-95.